Fire is something we see almost every day, but how much do we really know about it? From flames that change color to fire that can burn in space, this incredible phenomenon hides some surprising science. In this video, we're exploring amazing science facts about fire that will completely change the way you see every flame. Fire needs three things to exist. Fire, that mesmerizing phenomenon, actually requires three key elements to sustain itself. First, there's fuel, which can be anything from wood to gas. Second, you need oxygen, typically from the air around us. And third, there's heat, the initial spark that starts the reaction. Without all three, fire simply cannot exist. Remove any one, and the flames will die out. So next time you see a campfire, remember it's a delicate balance of these three essential components working together in a precise chemical dance. In science, this concept is known as the fire triangle. If you cool the heat, remove the fuel, or cut off the oxygen, the reaction stops. That is exactly how firefighters extinguish flames, turning a raging blaze into harmless smoke and ash within moments of control. Fire is not a solid liquid or gas. You might think fire is a substance, but it's actually a process. Fire is not a solid liquid or gas. It's a visible manifestation of a chemical reaction called combustion. When fuel and oxygen combine with heat, they release energy in the form of light and heat, which we see as flames. So, fire is more of an event than a thing. It's the result of rapid oxidation, making it a unique state of matter that defies our everyday categories and exists purely as an action in progress. What we see as flames are actually glowing gases and tiny particles heated to extremely high temperatures. These particles emit light as energy escapes during the reaction. The dancing shape of a flame changes constantly because hot gases rise while cooler air rushes in to feed the fire. That's why flames flicker, twist, and move so unpredictably. In reality, fire is energy in motion, a fast-moving transformation happening right before our eyes. Fire color reveals its temperature. Have you ever noticed that flames can be different colors? That's because the color of fire directly indicates its temperature. Red flames are the coolest, around 600 to 800 degrees Celsius. As fire gets hotter, it turns orange, then yellow, and eventually blue. Blue flames are the hottest, reaching up to 1,500 degrees Celsius or more. So, by looking at the color, you can tell just how intense the fire is. This color code is a reliable gauge used by scientists and firefighters alike to assess heat levels quickly. The reason behind these colors comes from how atoms and particles behave when heated. As the temperature rises, electrons inside atoms gain energy and release light at different wavelengths. Cooler flames glow red because they emit longer wavelengths of light, while hotter flames shift toward shorter wavelengths like blue. You can easily see this in everyday life, such as in a candle flame that burns yellow or a gas stove that burns bright blue. The color of fire is basically nature's built-in thermometer. Fire can burn without oxygen. We all know fire needs oxygen to burn, right? Well, not exactly. While most fires on Earth rely on atmospheric oxygen, some chemical reactions can produce fire without it. For instance, certain metals like magnesium can burn carbon dioxide. And in space, fires can occur in pure oxygen environments or even with other oxidizers. So, fire isn't always dependent on the oxygen we breathe. It just needs some oxidizing agent to sustain the reaction, which challenges our basic understanding of combustion. In chemistry, an oxidizer is any substance that can accept electrons during a reaction, allowing combustion to continue even without normal air. Materials like chlorine, fluorine, or certain chemical compounds can act as powerful oxidizers. That means a fire can still ignite and burn intensely if the right chemical conditions are present. Scientists study these unusual reactions to better understand combustion in extreme environments, from industrial processes to experiments conducted in space stations. Fire produces light and heat. Fire is a powerful source of energy, primarily releasing it in two forms: light and heat. The light from fire comes from excited atoms in the flame that release photons as they calm down. And the heat is generated by the exothermic reaction of combustion, which warms everything around it. This dual output has made fire essential for human survival, from keeping us warm to lighting up the dark. It's nature's way of transforming chemical energy into something we can see and feel, bridging the gap between matter and sensation. Inside the flame, countless microscopic reactions are happening every second. Fuel molecules break apart and combine with oxygen, releasing bursts of energy that spread rapidly through the surrounding air. This energy not only produces glowing light, but also intense heat that can cook food, melt metals, or generate power. Since ancient times, humans have relied on this remarkable process to survive and build civilization. Even today, fire remains one of the most important tools for energy and technology. What does fire look like in space? On Earth, fire always points upward, forming a teardrop shape due to gravity pulling hot air up. But in space, where gravity is minimal, things change dramatically. Without buoyancy, flames become spherical, burning in all directions. They're also cooler and harder to sustain. So, if you lit a match on the International Space Station, you'd see a round, blue ball of fire instead of our familiar pointed flame. This spherical shape reveals how gravity shapes fire on our planet, making it a truly earthbound phenomenon. In microgravity, hot gases don't rise the way they do on Earth. Instead, the fuel and oxygen mix more slowly and evenly around the flame. Because of this, the fire burns more gently and spreads in a smooth, symmetrical shape. Scientists study these unusual flames in space laboratories to better understand combustion. The research even helps engineers design cleaner and more efficient engines back on Earth. Smoke is unburnt particles. When you see smoke rising from a fire, you're actually looking at millions of tiny particles that didn't fully burn. These particles, along with gases and soot, are the remnants of incomplete combustion. They escape before the fuel is completely consumed, creating the visible plume we associate with fire. So, smoke is a sign that the fire isn't perfectly efficient. It's the leftover bits that couldn't quite transform into energy. This incomplete burning is why some fires produce more smoke than others, depending on fuel and oxygen levels. When a fire has plenty of oxygen and burns at a higher temperature, the fuel tends to burn more completely, producing less smoke. But when oxygen is limited, more particles escape before they can fully combust. These particles scatter light in the air, which is why smoke appears gray, white, or even black. The darker the smoke, the more unburned material it usually contains. Can fire cast a shadow? This might sound like a trick question, but technically, fire can cast a shadow, but not in the way you think. Fire itself doesn't have a shadow because it's a light source. However, if you shine a brighter light on a flame, the flame can block that light, creating a shadow on a surface behind it. So under the right conditions, you can see the shadow of a fire, but it's the flame interfering with another light source, not the fire's own light. This optical illusion highlights the complex interplay between light and matter. The effect happens because a flame is made of hot gases and tiny particles that can partially block or scatter incoming light. When a stronger light shines through the flame, some areas of the light are absorbed or redirected, leaving a darker shape behind it. The shadow may appear faint, flickering, and constantly changing because the flame itself is always moving. This makes the shadow look almost alive, dancing along with the fire. Fire isn't just a simple flame. It's a fascinating display of chemistry, physics, and energy all happening at once. From its colors to how it behaves in space, fire is far more complex than it seems. If you enjoyed these amazing science facts about fire, make sure to follow for more fascinating science explained in simple ways.